Consumer choice and demand. Utility analysis is a utility you derive from a particular good, services, or activity depends on your taste and preferences. Subjective. Observing behavior about the satisfaction that customer buy in a product or services. Utility analysis means that it is a utility that a feedback, statement, or your behavior to the product, commodities, or services that you buy, and it based only in a one-person experience or taste according to the product or services that they use. The law of diminishing marginal utility. Total utility is the satisfaction you derive from consumption. Ibig sabihin, total utility is a utility that focuses on the satisfaction claimed by the consumer on a specific goods and services they buy and after they consume or they use. It includes in this utility the overall feedback or saying of a one consumer to the product used. Marginal utility in total utility resulting from a one unit change in consumption. Ibig sabihin, it is a utility that focuses on the result what its quality either is good, better, or bad. It is a utility that shows the good or bad effect in the consumer. For example, a consumer buy an electronic iron. Then the feedback is, it is good quality and minimize electric only use. So that the marginal utility on that is the minimize electric use only. The law of diminishing marginal utility. This law states that the more of a good you consume per period, the smaller the increase in total utility from consuming one more unit, other things consistent. Feature all consumption. Ibig sabihin, ang law of diminishing marginal utility, sa dami ng nakokonsume mo tapos wala ding pagbabago kang nakikita sa isang produkto, maaaring maliit lamang ang posibilidad na mag-increase ang total utility, which is yung rate ng satisfaction mo bilang isang consumer sa isang product or services. And the smaller marginal utility of each additional unit consumed, ito yung kaunti lamang ang maibigay sa'yo na benefits ng isang product or services na binili.
Measuring utility. So far, the description of utility has used such words as wonderful, good, and fair. The analysis can't be pushed very far with such subjective language. To predict consumer behavior, we need to develop a consistent way of viewing utility. So, this is the one of being useful or beneficial, and also a consumer obtains from any good. For example, if you go to supermarket, you may fill a bag of water, gives you a moderate utility of 20 utils. By comparison, a large pizza may give a greater satisfaction of 50 utils. Units of utility. Although there really is no objective way of measuring a price, you could be more specific about how much you enjoyed each glass of water. So these units provides you a glass of water and also developing a values for utility. For example, you might say the second glass was half as good as the first, the third was half as good as the second, the fourth was half as good as the third, and you pass up a fifth glass because you expected no positive utility. Utility maximization in a world without scarcity. Economists Assume that your purpose for drinking water, as with all consumption, is to maximize your total utility. So leads to purchasing unit perceived to have the greatest utility satisfactions. For example, water, as long as each additional glass increases total utility, a person would consume 4 glasses of water. Utility maximization in a world of scarcity. Your utility is still based on your taste, but you now buy goods with your limited income. So, you buy a goods with your limited income and maximizing combination of choices in a step-by-step way. For example, start off thinking about spending all money on glass of water. Water for diamonds. Diamonds are bling, certainly not a necessity of life in any sense. Water is essential to life and has hundreds of valuable uses. For the price of 1 carat diamond, you could buy enough water to last a lifetime. So the water is lack of access of safe water. If there was no water, there would be no life on this world. Water is enough to our life. For example, on the other hand, things that often have the greatest value in the market have little or no practical use. Utility maximizing conditions. Once a consumer is in equilibrium, there is no way to increase utility by reallocating the budget. Any change in consumption decreases utility. So the consumer make these decisions. Economists assume that people make choices that maximize their level of happiness. For example, let's say the first glass of water was an 85 and the second glass of water had a marginal utility of 79. Then the total utility from consuming 2 glasses of water is 164.
Marginal utility is the additional satisfaction a consumer gains from consuming one more unit of a good or service. Marginal utility is an important economic concept because economists use to determine how much of an item a consumer will buy. As we all know, marginal utility is the extra benefit derived from consuming one more unit of a specific good or service. Practical example. Assume Jane will be celebrating her 24th birthday. She is eager to receive presents from her friends. They all know she loves chocolate. Therefore, on her birthday, all 10 of her friends buy her a bar of chocolate each. Excited as she is, she grabs her first chocolate in hurry and gives it several bites. Let's say a total of 5 bites. From the marginal utility argument, the first chocolate bar Jane received increased her excitement to the maximum. As each chocolate bar is received, she experiences less and less excitement. It's similar effect with the bites. The first bite was sweet and she experienced an endorphin rush. However, by the 5th bite, her excitement is no longer the same as she becomes more accustomed to the taste. Eventually, she might only eat 1 or 2 bars while the rest are reserved for another day. In microeconomics, the law of demand is a fundamental principle which states that conditional on all else being equal. As the price of a good increases, quantity demanded will decrease. Conversely, as the price of a good decreases, quantity demand will increase. The law of demand states that are other things being equal, the quantity both of a good or service is a function of price. Example, airlines wants to lower when oil prices rise to remain profitable. They also don't want to cut flights. Instead, they buy more fuel efficiency planes, fill all seats, and change operations to improve efficiency. The law of demand would describe this as the quantity or fuel required by the airlines drop as the price rose. Of course, all other things are not equal during these periods. In fact, demands for jet fuel can be further lessened because airlines' income also dropped at the same time. The 2008 global financial crisis meant that travelers cut back on their demand for air travel. The airlines' expectations about the price of a jet fuel also changed. They realized it would probably continue to rise over the long term. The other two determinants of airlines' demand for jet fuel stayed the same. They couldn't switch to another fuel, and their taste or desire to use jet fuel didn't change. Retailers use the law of demand every time they offer a sale. In short term, all other things are equal. Sales are very successful in driving demand. Shopper responds immediately to the advertised price drop. It works especially while during massive holiday sales such as Black Friday or Cyber Monday.
The role of time in demand. Franklin said, "Time is money." Time plays a role demand analysis. Time has a positive value for most people. Consequently, consumption has a money price and a time price. Goods are demanded because of the benefits they offer. Ibig sabihin, a time is a medium on how determine the demand in a particular goods and services. The role of time in demand is important because time is a specific information that many business use this as their basis to know if the goods and services are liked by many consumer or not. Final word. It is the wants or choice of a consumer to buy the product or services. It is how the consumer predict and react to the price of a commodities and services that they want to buy. Ibig sabihin, it is the stage where the consumer make their own decision in buying aspect because many of consumer had different reason. Two of that is, first, they buy a service or commodities even it is high price because it can give them a long range benefit. And the other one is they buy a product based on their money that they must budget. They buy a product or services in a lower price even they know that it has short range benefit only, or kaya ito rin yung tinatawag na opportunity cost.